Hello and welcome to the Living Legacy series from Of the I Sing American Heritage Through Song. I am Audrey Johnson, founder and soloist of the I Sing, and I'm so excited to welcome you today for another exciting episode of this series. The mission of the I Sing is to bring American heritage to life through music. And a cornerstone of this mission is the support and championing of contemporary American composers because they are the living legacy of our nation's musical heritage and culture. I especially love featuring their settings of American poetry because this brings our nation's treasury of literature to the forefront as well. I believe deeply in our nation's music and poetry, and it is my honor to be an ambassador of this music with the mission of bringing people together through the power of song. Today, I'm so excited to feature my longtime friend and colleague, James Morehead, though everyone calls him Jimmy. Jimmy is the music director of the Immanuel Lutheran Church in Evanston, as well as the artistic director of the renowned Chicago Gay Men's Chorus. A sought-after vocal coach and accompanist throughout Chicago, Jimmy taught music theory and German diction at the Performing Arts Conservatory at Roosevelt University. Jimmy is also known for his artistic direction on countless musical performances throughout the Chicago area. Jimmy has performed at such famous venues as the Auditorium Theater, the Chicago Cultural Center, Rockefeller Chapel, and Ravinia. He has also been a featured pianist at such famous jazz clubs as the Green Mill. Please join me in welcoming my dear friend, Jimmy Morehead. Jimmy, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. My dear friend, it's just been great. I know we've been planning this for a long time, so I'm so excited this finally got to happen. Speaking to your wonderful biography that I just shared with everyone, you are so adept and such a professional at the highest level with so many different kinds of musical styles. And when I was going over that myself, I thought, gosh, there's got to be a story there. Could you let us into that a little bit? Share your musical journey and how it's taken you down so many, yeah, different roads.
Um, I'm raised as a pianist, as you well know from singing in front of this wall of books. Um, and my very first piano teacher, when I was a little kid, insisted that I had to play my classical stuff, and I wanted to play other things. And this is kind of how I bridged out, but he insisted as long as I played my Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms, we could do other things. And I brought in show tunes. and um, I still have the book of Camelot, My Fair Lady, and Sound of Music that my grandparents bought me when I was, I think, 9. And took that to piano lessons, and he was a jazzer, which jazz people don't like being called, but he was a jazz musician and was teaching me classical and taught me show tunes, and then we branched into jazz, and so I've played all different styles the whole time, and
Wow.
it's I mean I think there's validity to all music, whether you like it or not. I think there's validity to all kinds of music, and being able to cross fences and enjoy classical and pop and jazz and ragtime and hip hop and rap and all those things. It just makes the banquet table more plentiful and more enjoyable. So I I would rather enjoy all the things than just one. So
Absolutely. And aren't you a better musician for enjoying all of those things? Because, like you were saying, they cross, inform each other. And I just love the way that your teacher, he stuck with what he knew that he wanted to give to you. As your teacher, that was his responsibility to you to give you those really strong foundational basics in the classics, which I'm sure made you a better player of everything else. But the fact also that he legitimized those things as well and honestly used them as motivation, right, for you to do the classical too. I mean, what a wonderful teacher. Gosh, I mean, it just goes to show you how important those relationships are with those mentor-mentee relationships, and that he really heard you and heard your passions, but also knew that he needed to give you those fundamentals. That's beautiful. Gosh, I'm so glad. And I guess, as we would say, the rest is history. As I shared, you've worked on countless musicals, but also you've served in classical capacities as the current music director of the big Lutheran church in Evanston, as well as the artistic director of the Chicago Gay Men's Chorus, which is such a wonderful community group that provides so much and that enriches the lives of so many people throughout the Chicagoland area. Would you talk a little bit about the way that you have now used your music to serve these communities?
Well, it's a little different for each one.
Sure.
Church is very sacred, obviously.
Yeah.
um, and so things are, but we cross style differences as well. So some
Mhm.
weeks we'll sing a 16th century motet, and the next week we're doing a spiritual. So
Nice.
they've been singing all the different styles as well.
Mhm.
Um, with the chorus, with the Chicago Gay Men's Chorus, cgmc.org, don't edit that out. Um, we tend to do more popular music, so it's a lot of pop and musical theater. But every now and then we still do, a good Morton Lauritsen choral piece and
Wow.
do some full on classical things.
Mhm.
Hallelujah choruses in the rep. We do it almost every 4 years in the holiday cycle. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, we get to do lots of things.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And just the way that that continues to enrich and serve the community. I loved when I was researching about the Chicago Gay Men's Chorus, and I loved that the mission was, to bring this culture to the community and to really to add that into everything else that's going on, to really, meet people where they are and to show all of the beautiful things that this music has to offer with such a group effort behind it. Could you talk to us a little bit about how you came to be involved with that group?
For sure. So CGMC was looking for an accompanist about a decade ago, and I applied for the job and started playing for the chorus. So I was playing rehearsals, and then I inherited assistant conductor status and was doing a few shows here and there, like the cabarets and things like that. And then when my predecessor, Patrick, who is absolutely wonderful to work for, um, retired and moved on, he I applied for the job and it was great. Like it's been absolutely wonderful.
Mhm.
Um, we have a little joke amongst us at CGMC that Chicago Gay Men's Chorus that not everyone has to live in Chicago. You can drive in from Indiana. We won't hold it against you. Not everyone has to be gay. You can be straight. You can be bi. You can be whatever
Mhm.
orientation. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Um, Men don't care. You can be woman, non-binary, all of the things. Chorus, you know what? We'll meet you where you are and we'll help you sing better and we'll get you there. So it's very open and welcoming, and we do our best to make sure that everyone has a safe place to make music.
I love that, Jimmy. Gosh, that is what a beautiful mission and just such a beautiful way to celebrate the diversity and the advantages of inclusion that can bring, and then to share that through song with not only, like you said, the Chicago community, but even all over the world. Don't you guys tour?
We used to tour a lot. Of course, with COVID restrictions, we're not doing anything in person at this point. But the major out of town performances are mostly
Mhm.
for our conferences, which are about every 4 years for Gay
Okay.
and Lesbian Chorus Association, Gala choruses.
Hmm.
And so our last time we performed in Denver in
Okay.
2016.
Wonderful. That's lovely. And again, what a way to empower each other and to really use music as such a wonderful vehicle for growth and for that inclusion. That is just wonderful. Thank you for sharing all about those groups. I just personally was so taken with everything on the website and just everything that I was able to find online that I wanted to make sure we shared that today because I think a lot of people don't know about that organization, maybe, especially if you're not directly in the Chicagoland area. So thank you for taking that time to share that.
Of
Um,
course.
and yeah, and so I know, in addition to being the pianist and directing and coaching, people on their voices, you also do a lot of arranging for these groups. And since that's, kind of the situation surrounding the song that I'll be singing of yours today, I would love to, hear a little bit of your insight, as an arranger, which, you compose as well, but that's a specific vein, taking something that's already written and adapting it for a specific situation. I'd love to know about your process.
Well, it varies. So it's not always exactly the same. um, and as anyone who writes anything knows, some days are better than others, and that like it has to hit right exactly where then I can keep going, kind of thing.
Hmm.
I do a lot of work at the piano. I have to sing a lot inside and out to kind of get ideas.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of it's progress. So I tend to work from large to small. So I'll come up with larger concepts for how the piece has to evolve first
Hmm.
before I do specific little things. Writing harmonies isn't hard for me. So like I don't need to tinker with that. I just need to figure out where I'm doing what kind of thing and
Hmm.
then impose it upon the piece, for lack of a better word off the top of my head. Um, so if I'm changing something to whole tone, like I can do that later. But if I know what when I'm doing what, like all of those things are fine. My graduate degree is also in theory, so like I'm super heady about some certain things, and so um, for the better or the worse, I don't know. But so those things come kind of check in and out while I'm arranging. A lot of it does also come down to playing. So and maybe that's my background as a performer, but how things fit and sit and are easy
Hmm.
are important to me. Um, and especially when we're arranging for vocals, I keep range in mind.
Hmm.
Although I did notice while I was writing something last week that if something fits well in the hands, I leave it in that key and then I'll transpose it to the right vocal range later,
Yeah.
um, just so I don't have to keep transposing in my head. But which
It's
is kind of
valid.
funny to me because I'm like, why wouldn't I just change it the first? No, I keep it there and then I'll transpose it later. It's fine. Um,
Yeah, but that's part of your
so yeah, so
process.
those
That's
things come
great.
to mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love the way that you say, like you start big with a big concept and then you get in there specifically, which I
Mhm.
think I could really see potentially if that were not the case with the piece that I'm going to share with y'all today. And so this is also one of the reasons that I was really excited to have Jimmy on this program this month in March, being Women's History Month. So the piece that you guys are going to hear is Watchman Tell Me, which is this kind of a piece is called a contrafact, which means that the melody was already written. It was a song that people were familiar with, and then to serve the needs or the strategies of the movement, in this case the women's suffrage movement, new words were set to this song, and designed, for many different strategic reasons, to bring people to the side of suffrage. Maybe, for so many people that was just such an issue that, it was like, well, no, of course women can't vote. That makes no sense. Well, how are we going to, change and persuade? And so if there was a sentimental attachment already to a song, they would then strategically change the words of that song, and it would then have that effect of bringing people to that side. And so this is the piece that Jimmy, that you arranged, and I know I gave you such a tall order because this song is just, I mean, it's just a very straightforward hymn. Originally, but with these words about, Watchman, does the glory of, does women's glory dawn? And I really wanted to have this be this really pivotal moment in this concert that I present on the 19th Amendment. The women that had just been in jailed and horribly treated for picketing, which was legal. It was this horrible scandal that they were arrested in the first place, and then to be treated just so horribly, and then to finally have that be the big turning point for women's suffrage and for sympathy to that cause. So I really wanted to have within this simplistic hymn all of this range of drama, and you did that for me so beautifully. But again, I know I came to you with all of this and I was like, can you do this? And you were like, yeah, you can. But talk to me about the process and the approach when you were working on that.
So under your guidance, the goal was to make sure that it started very somber
Hmm.
and then ended somewhere much more glorious. Yes. Um,
Absolutely.
And those two things can't happen without some in between. And so it starts very, very basic and plain and sparse. Sparse is a great word.
Yeah.
So it's open intervals. It's almost chant-ish, if you
Yes.
will, chant-like. And then it slowly gets some movement in the piano part underneath the vocals, so that by the end, and instead of just transposing it up a key, which is it's a great fix. If you, I mean, just transpose everything up. It works in every pop song. No shame in that game. If it works, don't fix. If it works, don't. It's fine. Use it. But that isn't what hit me with this one, and so it slowly but surely modulates up to the new key by reharmonizing the melody as we go through the final verse. And so it ends up in this very new place by the end, a whole step higher than we began.
Yeah.
And also at the very end, I added a rhythmic change so that it had more energy for the end to make it more stately and arriving.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, thank you for sharing that. And I love the way, you thought, okay, I'm going to kind of take this twist on that typical, device of going up that step, but to really work within that to make the transition something really poignant and really powerful. So, and I can tell you guys, when Jimmy first sent me the little audio file to listen to it, I was just in tears because I just thought, oh my gosh, I mean, it was just these, those harmonic shifts that just twist your heart.
You don't expect.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Which, I mean, my goodness, this was, these women were treated so horribly. It's the last thing that they would have expected, that the president, Wilson, who had just been from the beginning of his, his tenure, but certainly that second term was just adamantly just no, and that this finally, turned the corner for him. Was amazing. So thank you for doing everything that you did so beautifully to reflect that within this song. And I would love to share this song with you all right now. Watchman, tell me, does the morning of fair woman's glory dawn have the signs that mark its coming yet upon her pathway shown? Sisters, yes, arise, look round thee, light is gleaming in the skies, righteous men in line are waiting, justice comes, arise, arise. See the ranks and ranks of voters circling round her flag today, storming wrongs on holy bastions, while God's lightnings round them play. Sisters, yes, the glorious morning breaks above wrong's frowning heights. All her foes shall be confounded. She shall have her sacred rights. Freedom's torch this glorious morning lights the land from sea to sea. Justice calls throughout the nation, saying woman now is free. Voters, yes, arise, look round thee, while the quenchless noonday light shows the nation in its splendor, pledged to justice, truth, and right. So, Jimmy, thank you you again so much for arranging such a beautiful version of this gorgeous hymn from the suffrage movement, this historical piece, and letting me share it with everyone is so special.
Of course, I'm glad we get to share it with everyone.
Yes, me too. Absolutely. Well, and speaking of, sharing music with everyone, and we've all done our best to come up with these ideas for, virtual performances and virtually, communicating with people through music. But especially someone like you that is just such an integral person within the Chicago community. You give so much of yourself to these groups and the way that you minister through music and share that with everyone. And of course, that has been an in-person type of activity. And so, I'd love to hear, maybe some things that were going on with you during the pandemic, how you were coping with that, and also, as the door now is slowly starting to open once again for us, if you have any new perspectives on, the impact of live performance. We know now what it's like without it, and now I think maybe we appreciate it in a different way. And maybe if that has inspired you towards any new ideas going forward, I would love to know what's in the works for you.
Of course. So when the pandemic hit, of course, everything was shut down and we stopped singing and doing rehearsals. Um, Most people join the Chicago Gay Men's Chorus for one of two reasons, or both. And so they either join to just sing, and a lot of people are looking for community and friends and a place to be involved. And so early early in the pandemic, instead of just waiting for things to like riot out, we were like, we need to keep checking in with people. We need to make sure that they're doing okay, and that whether we're in lockdown or whether we're on partial lockdown, like we're checking in and people have an outlet and somewhere to go. And so we started immediate check-ins at our normal rehearsal time. So it was when they were used to being committed to the chorus, and they could check in and talk with each other, catch up, share what things they're binging on Netflix or what they finally cooked, and but it gave them an outlet, and so that we implemented that very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and that helped us gear up for our first virtual performance. So we have done three so far, and we did our first one was it was a lot. It's a lot to take on, and so we did I think 20 songs on the first one,
Oh,
and then we did a cabaret, which were smaller groups and solos, so that was much easier. But we learned a lot more about technology and how to make things work. And then I wrote an original version of Christmas Carol for our holiday show for the Gay Men's Chorus. And so that was presented in December, which, gave me an opportunity to write a lot and hear it. Um, and our ghost of Holiday's future was a death metal rock star.
gosh.
Because Ghost of Christmas Future doesn't usually speak, but in ours, he had
Right.
something to say in an 80s
Nice.
heavy metal ballad. So that was fun, and very stole the show. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
We've managed to find ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been great because people have logged in from all over the world and have been able to check out our shows. Like our Sunday matinee had people logging in from Europe and Morocco, and
Oh my gosh.
what is happening? This is weird,
Mm-hmm.
but lovely. Like I'll take it. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
So there are those benefits that we weren't anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the same. It's not the same. And so we embraced from the very beginning that this is not going to be the same
Mm-hmm.
as singing together and singing in person and making music on stage in front of a full house.
Right.
Um, and we had sold out our holiday show right before the pandemic, so like we're coming off this high of singing to thousands of people and full houses where you couldn't get a ticket to the disco holiday show, because that was fun too. But
Sure. Oh.
knowing that it's not the same and knowing that it's not replacing it, it is what we're going to do now,
Yes.
has been very helpful to get us
Mm-hmm.
through things. And then I'm writing a new show based on the Wizard of Oz as well, for the Gay Men's Chorus in our show in May, and that will be virtual as well. With
Wonderful.
church, we've been mostly doing recordings that we then play videos to, because we're Zoom churching. There's no in person for us yet, which is ultimately safer given the age demographic of the
Yes.
congregation.
Hmm.
Um, and they've been very active. They submit their recordings every week, like we're in rehearsal. So
Wow.
it's been a blessing.
Hmm.
I'm hoping
Absolutely.
we'll get to sing in person outside this summer. We'll
Yeah.
we'll see what our restrictions are here in Chicago and what is capable and what we'll do.
Hmm.
Um, I have a weird gut instinct that more people will want to sing with each other once this is all over,
Yes.
just because now we can, and
Right.
we've missed it for so long, and
Yes.
let's get back to it.
Hmm.
So I'm excited for that to happen.
Yeah.
But in planning, like I don't know what's going to happen, right? So
Of
we
course.
don't know how long this is going to last, and
Hmm.
none of us thought it was going to be even this long. So
Exactly.
in future planning, I'm trying to keep in mind that it might go one of two ways, and I have to plan things that could go either virtual or in person, which
Hmm.
isn't always the best choice because what works in person doesn't always work online, and what works online doesn't always work in person.
Right.
And what you're going to do for the screen, like
Hmm.
what you're going to do for the camera, isn't necessarily what you're going to do on stage. And so
Yeah.
keeping those things in mind as I plan for the future is important. And I'm not sure I have a hard and fast answer yet. I'm still
Yeah.
working through it. And we have two shows to keep me busy in the meantime. So
Sure. Gosh, absolutely. Well, and I love that is, you seem to really have embraced and celebrated the things that we all, we learned a lot of new things, all of us during the pandemic. I think no matter who you are, you got a little bit better with technology, if it was, Zoom meetings for your work or, like you were saying, doing a lot more involved things of piecing together, virtual choirs, virtual choral pieces, and different events online. And I certainly agree with you that I could see there being a surge in people not only wanting to attend performances live once we're able to do so, but to be a part of them, because maybe you were only in some little, some small community choir that only met, a couple times a month or something, but it has just been so long now. And I think we're all just hungry for that community feeling. And there is nothing like singing or making music together as an ensemble to really get that feeling. So yes, I could definitely see, prepare yourself, I'm sure, for this large increase in people that want to participate, which will be wonderful. And I think we'll all be so much more grateful going forward, of what we do have together, because now we've really learned what it's like to not have that. So, Jimmy, this is so exciting. Thank you so much for sharing today and for all of the wonderful things that you have all been able to figure out and to continue to offer to people. We will certainly let everyone know about the events and give those links and that information, so that people can
of course,
participate. So thank you for all of those things. And I just cherish our friendship and the collaboration that you and I have been able to do now, in terms of the arranging and all of the other times that we've collaborated in the past. So it's so
last.
special to have you. And yes, absolutely. Well, my friend, thank you so very much for your time. This has been the Living Legacy series, and we sure hope you've enjoyed it.